President Donald Trump's proposal for the U.S. to take over Gaza and transfer Palestinians out of the enclave was defended by his top aides on Wednesday, while it drew widespread condemnation around the globe.
President Trump is an outside-of-the-box thinker and a visionary leader.
At a White House briefing on Wednesday, Trump's press secretary Karoline Leavitt hailed his Gaza proposal as historic, while stressing that the president had not made a commitment to sending U.S. troops to the Palestinian enclave.
The president has not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza. He has also said that the United States is not going to pay for the rebuilding of Gaza. His administration is going to work with our partners in the region to reconstruct this region.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too.
Barely 2 weeks in the job, Trump shattered decades of U.S. policy with a vaguely worded announcement, saying he envisioned transforming Gaza into the Riviera of the Middle East, after nearly 16 months of Israeli bombardment devastated the coastal enclave and killed more than 47,000 people according to Palestinian tallies. His words prompted rebukes from world powers Russia, China, and Germany, which said it would foster new suffering and new hatred, while regional heavyweight Saudi Arabia rejected the proposal outright. James Gelvin is a history professor at the University of California, Los Angeles.
Well, my first reaction was that's Trump being Trump. There's no way in hell that this thing is going to work. It involves too many moving parts. It involves ethnic cleansing of Palestine, of Gaza. It involves the American commitment of troops. It involves violations of international law. It involves the Palestinians renouncing their entitlement to the land on which they are. So it's just not going to work.
Trump frequently asserted during the 2024 election campaign, and since returning to the office, that he would end what he called ridiculous wars and prevent others from starting. While on a trip to Guatemala, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, apparently seeking to counter the wave of global criticism, insisted Trump's proposal was not a hostile move.
What President Trump announced yesterday is the offer, the willingness of the United States to become responsible for the reconstruction of that area.
Trump offered no specifics as he announced his proposal while welcoming Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House on Tuesday. He said he and his team had been discussing his proposal with Jordan, Egypt, and other regional countries.
Free the prisoners! Free them all! From Seattle to Geneva! Justice, justice for Shireen!
Yeah, I mean, it's really nothing new. Trump, I think, is escalating the repression and escalating the, pushing for escalated colonization in Palestine, but that's something that has been going on since 1948. As all these things, hearing these politicians and war criminals, say it very openly, can be jarring or shocking. But it is really, it's not a new shift or development really in American policy. Maybe a shift in rhetoric, but in terms of what's actually happening, there's a very bipartisan agreement on funding and arming Israel and allowing them to do what they do, which is colonize and ethnically cleanse Palestinian land.
Join Resist or Super's campaigns to force UW to divest from the Zionist entity and cut ties with Boeing.
This pattern, we've seen it before with the BLM movement, with Occupy Wall Street, all of these kind of historic movements that have kind of periods of really high engagement and lower engagement. And I think especially in America, it's really easy to disconnect from the actual lives of the people in Palestine. But across the world, and particularly in the Arab world, there is not a end of the struggle or end of the movement. And so we feel our job is to ensure that here in America, in the country that is funding and arming this genocide, that we are pulling people in and trying to bring the understanding that Palestine and Palestinians are not safe as long as Israel is there on their land.
In the search for solutions, we must not make the problem worse. It is vital to stay true to the bedrock of international law. It is essential to avoid any form of ethnic cleansing. We must reaffirm the two-state solution. Any durable peace will require tangible, irreversible, and permanent progress toward the two-state solution, an end to the occupation, and the establishment of an independent Palestinian state with Gaza as an integral part. A viable sovereign Palestinian state living side by side in peace and security with Israel is the only sustainable solution for Middle East stability.
We have no country except Palestine. Gaza is a precious part of it. We are not going to leave Gaza. There is no power on earth that can remove the Palestinian people from our ancestral homeland, including Gaza. We want to rebuild it. We want to put it back together, and we ask all countries to help us in this endeavor and in this regard. We are not looking for other homelands or other countries.
What President Trump said yesterday is an acknowledgement of the following. Gaza has been severely damaged. If you look at the aerial imagery, you see what's happening. The billions of dollars that are going to be required for reconstruction are enormous. Some areas have been rendered unlivable, now and for the foreseeable future. And so what President Trump announced yesterday is the offer, the willingness of the United States to become responsible for the reconstruction of that area. And while you are rebuilding, while you're clearing debris, by the way, there are unexploded munitions, there are all kinds of Hamas weaponry still buried underground. For people to be able to live in a place safely, all of that has to be removed. It's an enormous undertaking. And the only thing President Trump has done very generously, in my view, is offer the United States willingness to step in, clear the debris, clean the place up from all the destruction that's on the ground, clean it up of all these unexploded munitions. And in the meantime, the people living there will not be able, the people who call that home will not be able to live there while you have crews coming in and removing debris, while you have munitions being removed, etc. That's the offer that he's made. It's actually, he made a similar, obviously we didn't have a conflict at the time, but when in his first term, he offered a $50 billion plan to help Palestinians, which was rejected by the PA and obviously others. So in the interim, obviously, people are going to have to live somewhere while you're rebuilding it. It is akin to a natural disaster. So what he's very generously has offered is the ability of the United States to go in and help with debris removal, help with munitions removal, help with reconstruction, the rebuilding of homes and businesses and things of this nature, so that then people can move back in. But in the meantime, they'll have to live somewhere. Now, the details of that, if it was accepted, would have to be worked out among multiple partner nations. It's a unique offer, one that no other country in the world has stepped up and made an offer. But I think it's one people need to think about. Seriously, it was not meant as a hostile move. It was meant as I think, a very generous move, the offer to rebuild and to be in charge of the rebuilding of a place, many parts of which right now, even if people move back, they would have nowhere to live safely because there are still unexploded munitions and debris and rubble.